Tonight on To The Point, a push from lawmakers to bring down the cost of gas, how it could impact what you and other states pay at the pump.
She wasn't scared at all. It seemed like maybe it was something that's happened before.
Tonight, why a woman experiencing homelessness is being hailed a hero, watching a child whose grandfather is now under arrest.
Wind advisory expanding the new gusts that we'll see in the forecast.
Plus, Stormy Daniels testifies in Trump's hush money trial, what she said about the former president and their infamous night together.
Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. High gas prices are nothing new to California drivers, and a recent state law to change the industry as we know it is still in its early stages. But some are worried its impact could make gas prices even higher. ABC 10's Jeannie Nguyen shows us why in a hearing held downtown today.
Nearing $6 a gallon in Sacramento, Dion Perry says it's been difficult to deal with the high cost of gas.
I'm out about 120, between 120 and 140.
And how often do you have to fill up?
About every other day. What other choice do I have but to deal with the prices?
Hearing drivers' complaints, the California Energy Commission met Tuesday morning to discuss ways to implement Senate Bill X12, a law that prevents the oil industry from price gouging and authorizes the CEC to create a penalty to hold the industry accountable.
We have the cleanest fuel in the country, and that costs a little bit more to refine. So we want to hear from both perspectives on what those challenges are and how we control those prices.
The CEO of the Western States Petroleum Association, Kathy Reheis-Boyd, disagrees, saying this legislation will raise prices and cause more people that produce gas to leave the state.
We think it'll reduce supply and increase cost to the consumer.
At one point, Reheis-Boyd says there were 30 refineries in California, but now there are only 9. She says that plays a part in what we're paying at the pump.
It means they're not making any fossil fuels, they're not making any gasoline, they're making diesel that is based on renewables. So that shortened the supply of gasoline to California.
Arizona State Representative Justin Wilmoth also came to Sacramento to voice his concerns around SB X12. He says his state gets some of its gas from California. He believes this legislation may cause refineries to close, driving up the cost.
These decisions will harm Arizona and they will harm Nevada, and we all need to work together.
In response, Senator Bradford says he's grateful for the testimony and understands decisions made will have major impacts.
We need to understand that what we do will drive costs up also in Arizona, as you heard from the state rep. So we have to look at all sides.
All right, Jeannie's been following this for us, a 3-hour meeting.
Exactly, yes.
A lot of information to take in.
It was, yes.
Now, we know the initial point of this law is to, of course, hold the oil industry accountable and also prevent price gouging. Were there any indications of price gouging in the state?
Well, Alex, this meeting today is going to be one of many, but at this point, and while it's still early, the CEC does say that there is no current evidence of price gouging at this point. But again, it's still early and they still have to research and collect more data.
All right, Jeannie, thank you so much. And we will continue to follow this for you. But California drivers can expect to pay more for gas come July 1st because California's excise tax on gasoline will increase to 59.6 cents per gallon and then 45.4 cents per gallon on diesel. And if you're wondering what else we pay for in our gas, well, according to caltax.org, in addition to the excise tax, California drivers also pay a federal fuel tax of 18.4 cents per gallon, state costs for low carbon fuel standard, the cap and trade program, state and local sales tax, and an underground storage fee. So all totaled for gas price around $5 per gallon, taxpayers pay about $1.22 per gallon in state and federal tax fees. Now, tonight, a new city in California, California Forever, is one step closer to appearing on the November ballot. The Solano County Registrar says they've counted more than 20,000 valid signatures for the new proposed city between Rio Vista and Travis Air Force Base. Only 13,000 signatures were needed. The registrar will now do a random certification of signatures. The registrar has until June 11th to complete their first check. Today, hundreds of nurses and healthcare workers rallied at the state capitol. It was part of their fight against the ongoing staffing shortages. They say the lack of staffing not only puts patients at risk, but also nurses' well-being. The United Nurses Association of California is asking for lawmaker support for a $60 million budget proposal to expand nursing programs at more than 70 community colleges statewide, as well as improving how the state provides information on safe staffing enforcement. And tonight, a 34-year-old woman is being hailed a hero after taking care of a little girl investigators say was pawned off by her grandfather. The 54-year-old grandfather is now in custody for felony child endangerment, and Roxanne Elias has more on this story tonight.
It was like any ordinary day for Lauren Jope until she was randomly asked to take care of a 7-year-old little girl on Monday evening. It happened in this parking lot in front of Cinder's Bar.
I was just walking down the street. This guy asked me, can you go into the store with my daughter to buy a pair of shorts?
According to the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office, the man was the little girl's grandfather, and he offered the unknown homeless woman $20 to take his granddaughter to this nearby thrift store while he went into the bar across the parking lot. But later that afternoon, someone called deputies after he began asking for help because he said his granddaughter had been kidnapped for human trafficking.
7:45 last night, we get this frantic call of really a 7-year-old that's been kidnapped is what we're coming for. We've got all the resources coming out. We have our helicopter, we have our canine, we have our drones out here.
30 minutes later, deputies located the young girl and the homeless woman who had supposedly kidnapped her. The little girl had spent about 4 hours with Jope, who says she tried to return her, but the grandfather was too intoxicated and she didn't feel safe leaving her there. So she took her back to her campsite, just walking distance away. Then they heard their name on a PA and she returned with the child.
All of a sudden the helicopter's going around and attention on the ground, and it says her name and, describes me. And
the little girl was safely returned, but her grandfather, Jason Warren, was arrested for felony child endangerment. Lauren Jope says she's just thankful she was in his path when he was looking for someone to take care of her.
I'm glad that I was walking when I was because, she could have been left with some man or, someone who doesn't want to watch her or something like that, someone that doesn't really care.
And Lauren says that she's a student at American River College and is just trying to get into housing right now. The sheriff's office say that they are trying to help connect her with any resources she may need. A man who died in Fair Oaks Friday has been identified as the manager of a Folsom CVS. Deputies say 41-year-old Vitaly Zaitsev was killed Friday on Hill Ridge Way from what appears to be a gunshot wound. So far, the sheriff's office has not released any information on a motive. And according to CVS, he managed their store on Madison Avenue. And if you have any information about the shooting, please call the Sacramento County Sheriff's Office. Today, California Highway Patrol held its annual ceremony honoring fallen officers. The community, family, and friends gathered to honor 232 officers who lost their lives in the line of duty. The memorial included a 21-gun salute, a line of the wreath, a flyover, roll call, and a ringing of the memorial bell. Still ahead onto the point, as college campus protests over the war in Gaza grow, what California students say they are planning to do tomorrow.
We're tracking this wind advisory now expanding into the foothills, what we're expecting into our Wednesday.
Plus testimony from Stormy Daniels in the criminal trial against Donald Trump, what she claims happened between the two of them. All right, Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods with our forecast wind advisory, right?
Wind advisory going into effect for tonight. So if you have trash day maybe tomorrow, just think about that as you're putting out those trash cans. Definitely want to secure those loose objects. Wind gusts up to about 45 miles per hour in the valley, but up to about 55 miles per hour through the foothills. We saw that wind shift earlier today. Started off the morning with a little bit of low cloudiness, kind of a cool Pacific feel across the valley. And then those northwest winds picked up and that dried out the atmosphere, cleared things up and started to warm us up as well with highs today in the low to mid 70s in the valley, 60s for the foothills and 50s up top for this Europe. Hour by hour forecast for tonight, the low falls to about 54 degrees. What happens with those northwest winds, it keeps that warmer air closer to the surface, so we're not going to see that chilly start to our day. Here comes that building high pressure ridge as that low moves off to the Great Basin. Now, as those two start to separate into our Thursday evening, we'll lose the winds. But as we are in that transition zone, that's when we really see these winds ramp up, especially tomorrow morning for the west side of the valley, where we're expecting wind gusts 30 to 35, almost 45 miles per hour in some locations during the day on Wednesday. Still quite breezy outside. And then for early Thursday morning, we get those offshore winds through the foothills and the Sierra. That's really going to be the peak of those winds before everything starts to wind down into Thursday afternoon and Friday. But at that point, we start to pick up the heat, as you'll see in our 10-day forecast. We have the wind for tomorrow. Highs in the 90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some moderate heat risk as we see that first stretch of heat of the year.
Next, on To the Point, Stormy Daniels testifies in former President Donald Trump's hush money trial, causing the defense to call for a mistrial. Plus, as protests continue at college campuses, what's expected to happen tomorrow at Sacramento State? Today, former President Donald Trump coming face to face once again with adult film actress Stormy Daniels, who took the stand in the historic criminal trial against him. Daniels delivering hours of testimony to the jury, describing in detail her alleged sexual encounter with Trump and the hush money that prosecutors say she was paid in exchange for her silence. Here's more from court.
The jury in Donald Trump's historic criminal trial laser focused on Stormy Daniels on the witness stand, listening closely and furiously taking notes during her testimony in the case. The adult film actress describing in detail her first ever encounter with Trump back in 2006, meeting at a celebrity golf outing in California. He invited her to dinner and up to his hotel suite. Daniels even telling jurors about the size of the hotel room, what it looked like, and the pajamas Trump was wearing, then describing their roughly 2-hour conversation, and then she says they had sex. As Daniels got into intimate details about that alleged sexual encounter, Trump's seen repeatedly tapping his defense attorney's arm, signaling for her to object, which she did multiple times.
This is all building up into, again, forming this idea, look, she was there, this did happen, and thus eventually we'll talk about the money.
Prosecutors say Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, wired $130,000 to Daniels just days ahead of the 2016 election in exchange for her silence. Daniels reviewing that contract in court, confirming she did in fact sign it. Daniels testifying that her 2018 denial about Cohen's payment to her was false. When Trump repaid Cohen in 2017, prosecutors alleged Trump illegally characterized it as a legal expense to hide the payment from voters, later charging him with falsifying business records. Trump has pleaded not guilty and has denied that encounter with Daniels.
The legal expense that we paid was put down as legal expense.
And the defense has called for a mistrial over Daniels' testimony, but the judge denied the motion. Trump's defense says that he was trying to protect his family, not his campaign. But Daniels told the jury he never expressed any worry about his wife finding out. And in Trump's classified documents case, the judge overseeing the case has now indefinitely postponed the trial date pending resolution of outstanding pretrial litigation. TikTok and its parent Chinese company ByteDance are suing the U.S. federal government over a law that could ban the popular video sharing app unless it's sold to another company. The popular social video company alleged the law, which President Joe Biden signed as part of a larger $95 billion foreign aid package, is, quote, obviously unconstitutional. The law requires TikTok's parent ByteDance to sell the platform within 9 months. If a sale is already in progress, the company will get another 3 months to complete the deal. And ByteDance has said it does not have any plans to sell TikTok. Tonight, protests continue at college campuses across the country. UC Davis students have entered day 2 of their protest, and this encampment of around 20 tents went up yesterday morning. Just like other colleges across the country, pro-Palestinian protesters are demanding their universities to divest from corporations that could be profiting from the Israel-Hamas war. Some Jewish students call the protests anti-Semitic and say they fear for their safety. Meantime, Sacramento State students protested and marched on campus today, and it comes as the encampment there is now in their second week of demonstrations, and a larger statewide protest is being planned for tomorrow. ABC 10's Devin Truby reports on what happens next.
After 2 hours, that protest and march wrapping up. Take a look, ending where they started, back at the encampment, now inviting people in to see the work that they're doing and to have a dinner. Tomorrow is a call to action across all California State University campuses where they're asking people to protest for Palestine. Now, we asked what that might look like, but they didn't say. It's week 2 of the protest for Sacramento State University. Dozens of people have been sleeping in tents on campus demanding the school divest from Israel. On Tuesday afternoon, Sacramento State President Luke Wood checked in on the growing encampment.
We are a campus that is known for our diversity. We're known for being a caring campus. And I think that automatically helps to ease tensions and create an environment where people want to engage in discussion, they want to engage in discourse, they want to exchange ideas. And as you can see, that's happened here in a very peaceful way, and we're proud of that.
California State University currently has no plans of meeting the protesters' demands and to divest from all companies associated with Israel. This as Wednesday is CSU Day of Solidarity, where protest movements across all campuses are planning a joint effort. It's also the day President Wood gave to protesters to clear out.
We're working with the students and in conversation with them, and hopefully we will come to a resolution as soon as possible.
Negotiations are going about as well as they can, but we also recognize that to an extent he has his hands tied because ultimately it is the CSU system as a whole, the chancellor and the board of trustees that really have the control.
Are you at all concerned that when the deadline hits, there may be calls for removal?
We are not concerned.
When we asked student organizers what we should expect Wednesday, they said no comment. We asked campus police what kind of additional resources they might provide for tomorrow, but they didn't respond to our request. When we spoke to student organizers today, a change though. Originally when we asked how long they planned to be here, they said through graduation. When I asked today, they said we'll see. Reporting from the Sacramento State campus, I'm Devin Truby. This is To The Point with Alex Bell.
And today marks 7 months since Hamas's attack on Israel, starting the war in Gaza. President Biden says there has been a ferocious surge of anti-Semitism in the U.S. in the aftermath of October 7th, including on college campuses. The hope of a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas is fading. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Hamas's proposal yesterday was meant to stop the entry of his forces into Rafah, where more than half of Gaza's population is staying. But today, Israeli tanks rolled into Rafah. In Israel, families of hostages are still demanding the release of their loved ones.
To Netanyahu and the government of Israel, we clearly say from this stage, if the only way to get the hostages back is by providing an Israeli guarantee to end this war, then end this war.
An estimated 100 hostages and the remains of 30 others are still held by Hamas. They insist they will not release them unless Israel ends the war and withdraws from Gaza. In your price points tonight, the FAA is opening up a new investigation into Boeing. The plane maker now admits that some of its employees claim tests on Boeing's 787 Dreamliner jets had been completed when they hadn't been completed at all. Boeing said its engineers have determined that misconduct did not create any immediate safety of flight issue. No planes have been taken out of service. A new federal report is signaling that so-called go broke dates for Medicare and Social Security have been pushed back, citing an improving economy and lower costs. The report says Social Security could add 1 year, pushing back when it's going to be unable to pay full benefits to 2035. As for Medicare, its date was pushed back 5 years to 2036, citing higher payroll tax income and lower than projected expenses from last year. Right now, about 71 million people receive Social Security benefits. Officials warn that policy changes are needed for fear that programs could be unable to pay full benefits to retiring Americans. The IRS may owe you hundreds of dollars, and you still have a few days to collect it. The federal tax collector says that more than $1 billion could be left on the table for hundreds of Americans because they never filed a 2020 return. So they say about 88,000 people just in California have yet to submit returns. You have until May 17th to submit a tax return claim for unclaimed funds for the 2020 tax year. If the money is not claimed, it becomes property of the U.S. Treasury. All right, next on To The Point. A local city is home to one of the nation's first temples. We'll give you an inside look. ABC 10 is celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and Stockton is home to the nation's first Sikh temple. So coming up tomorrow on To The Point, we take you inside the 112-year-old building that not only unified the religion in the country, but also helped organize a revolution in India. The Sikh temple in South Stockton was built by Sikh farmers and laborers as a community center and place of worship, but soon it became a site of activism. Sikhs in California met in this building and strategized how to free the people of Punjab, India from British rule.
When they came to America, that's when they realized what freedom is, what our guru was teaching us, what the freedom looks like.
Tomorrow at 6:30, right here on To The Point, ABC 10's John Bartel takes us through history and activism that has happened at the temples and shows us how Stockton Sikhs are helping the community today. As always, thank you so much for watching and for spending part of your day with us. Remember, strangers are people we just haven't got the chance to meet yet. So take some time to get to know someone. Have a great night, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Hey, it's Alex. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. The To The Point team and I love hearing from you, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. And don't forget, you can always email me and the team at tothepoint@abc10.com, or you can even send us a text message at 916-321-3310.